Hey everybody, this is Bill. Welcome to the channel, Into the Color and Pageantry, our section of the channel where we look at college football. In this video, we're going to present our Week 11 Top 25 rankings. We'll also look at who fell out and who's looking to get a spot in the rankings. In addition, we'll review who's hot and who's not. First, let's check out who's looking to enter next week's Top 25 and who fell out. Now folks, before we move on today, like so many, our hearts are heavy and we want to send our prayers and condolences to the community at the University of Virginia. We are heartbroken at the tragic loss of these talented young men with such promise ahead of them. It will be a difficult road for all victims of this senseless act of violence. I have always felt the game of football offers extensive lifelong lessons. And it's a brethren inside that locker room where lifelong friendships and goodwill are formed. With that in mind, this loss is difficult to process and particularly painful. So please join us in continuing to offer prayers to the UVA community. We'll be thinking about them for some time to come. Best wishes to all up there at UVA. God bless you. So we had 4 teams fall out of the top 25 this past week. North Carolina State was 16th. They were upset at home by Boston College. Texas was 17th. Liberty, who we just talked about, was 18th. And Kentucky, a loss at home to Vanderbilt. They were 24th. Among the teams just outside the top 25 that are looking to gain a spot in it, we have the Florida Gators. They bombed South Carolina in the swamp. They're playing well right now. Kansas, great year for the Jayhawks. Texas, they fought hard against TCU at home, but they did fall in a defensive struggle. Minnesota is a team that could emerge in the Big Ten West. Mississippi State, a decent football team, hard schedule. Illinois is on the skids after starting out really good. They're at Michigan this week. Cincinnati, Washington State, we've been impressed with the Cougars this year. Iowa, they're looking to maybe win the Big West. We'll see. North Carolina State, hard loss to Boston College, as we mentioned at home. They're on their backup quarterback, of course. Liberty, we just highlighted them. They took an upset to UConn, Jim Mora's bunch. Wow, who saw that coming? Kentucky, tough loss at home to Vanderbilt. Man, that opened up some eyeballs. Louisville, they're playing better, but they could not handle Clemson falling. Wake Forest fell to North Carolina in a tight ball game, and Arkansas, off their loss to Liberty, played LSU tough in a cold game at Fayetteville, but they did fall. We still think the Hogs are a pretty good football team, so they got a chance to get back in the top 25, but right now, they're out. We have Coastal Carolina at 25th with their fantastic quarterback, Grayson McCall. Now, he is a little bit injured here. Coastal was going to play at Virginia this week. That game has been canceled due to the tragic events. But Coastal Carolina, they're in there at 25th. Oklahoma State, a couple of really bad losses. Got Bedlam this weekend. They're 24th at 7-3. Oregon State, they're a pretty good football team under Coach Jonathan Smith. They're 23rd. Duke is in at 22nd, having a great season in their new head coach. Tulane is 21st. They lost at home to UCF, who's 20th. The Knights having a big year. They got that loss to Louisville, but they took out Tulane and got themselves in the driver's seat for that New Year's 6 position. UCF in at 20th at 8-2. Notre Dame is 19th. They got a big game against Southern Cal coming up in a couple weeks. Kansas State looking really good. They bombed Baylor. They're 18th. Florida State crushed Syracuse up at the Carrier Dome. Jordan Travis had a big day. He only missed a couple passes. He accounted for a bunch of touchdowns, caught one, threw one, ran for one. Looking good, the Seminoles. Oregon, they're 16th. They fell to Washington. UCLA upset by Arizona, who's a good football team. UCLA is 15th. Now Washington, who beat Oregon in Autzen Stadium, they're 14th. North Carolina is 13th after beating Wake Forest. Ole Miss is 12th. Penn State, a big win, blanking Maryland, they're 11th. And the Clemson Tigers, who dumped Louisville, are 10th. Utah is 9th. It's been a rough year for the Utes, but they're trying to work themselves back into contention here. Alabama, they're also having a rough year for the Tide. They're ranked number 8. LSU, another win at Arkansas on a bitterly cold day there. They're number 7, 8-2. got a spot in the SEC championship game. Southern Cal 9-1. Their only loss, that one-pointer to Utah. Tennessee 9-1. They're number 5. Texas Christian, they held off Texas. Now, a lot of people thought that they might get beat, but they beat Texas in a defensive struggle. They're 4th. Michigan over Nebraska, they're 10-0 they're 10-0 at 3rd. They're going to play Ohio State in a couple weeks. Ohio State is 2nd. They're 10-0 as well. And the Georgia Bulldogs remain the number 1 team in the land. They beat Mississippi State. Georgia's 10-0. The Bulldogs, number 1. Now, who's hot? We got North Carolina. Now, the Tar Heels were expected to be a top 15 team a year ago coming off an Orange Bowl berth, but they stumbled badly. Therefore, most prognosticators did not hold out much promise for UNC in 2022. But Coach Mack Brown and his crew have been going a tremendous year this year. And this past week, they held off and defeated Wake Forest, a huge ACC win for the Heels. Now, sensational young freshman quarterback Drake May is leading the resurgence. He could be in New York for the Heisman. Keep your eye on this young man. But North Carolina is positioned to face Clemson in the ACC title game. They have a chance to even get way up in the stands if they can knock out the Tigers. Now, this has been an impressive season for the Tar Heels with their stellar quarterback, and we have taken notice. So North Carolina is who we got right now. That's hot. Meanwhile, did you see LSU edge Arkansas on a bitterly cold sunny day in Fayetteville? It was the CBS afternoon game. Well, LSU freshman defensive end Harold Perkins is pictured on our video thumbnail. Now, coming off a notably stellar performance against Alabama, the Hogs found Perkins downright unblockable. On a historic day there with the Hogs, the former 5-star recruit collected 8 tackles, got 4 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. Good heavens! Now, you've got to consider Perkins a real problem, especially these offensive coordinators that got to face him. This guy's a potential All-American. Watch out, Perkins, man. We've been watching you. Man, what a performance over the past couple of weeks. Now, who's not hot? Now, last week, off their big win at Arkansas, we noted the Liberty Flames as hot as a firecracker, along with their head coach Hugh Freeze being courted for 1 or more big-time job openings. Well, maybe Freeze was on the road interviewing, because Liberty flamed out on the road at UConn, losing to the lowly Huskies. This upset was a crushing blow to Liberty, offsetting that huge win in Fayetteville last week. Man, I hope we didn't put a curse on them, but man, Liberty went from hot to not hot. Speaking of curses and the haunting, we do want to tip our hat to UConn coach Jim Mora. He's leading the Huskies to being bowl eligible after a miserable 1-11 season a year ago. When Mora took over, this place was a dumpster fire. The Huskies 10-50 over the prior 5 seasons, and they recently left their conference to go independent, a move which did not help the program in terms of football. Now Mora, he's directing this turnaround for the ages while living in a haunted house. Yep, the house he bought up there off campus in Stores is haunted, and the story was recently featured in an essay on ESPN by Gene Wojciechowski. Now, Mora says the ghosts up there are friendly, which makes sense because he has all the Huskies pouring witch's brew up there, but I don't want to be anywhere near a ghost house. But Mora's okay with it. We're going to link to in the description to the ESPN College Game Day story by Gene for you to take a look at. Now, before we go, we want to shout out to the Sunshine Scooter. Now, Lee Corso has missed the last few game days recuperating, and we wish him all the best and a speedy full recovery. So many of us greatly appreciate his contributions over the years to the color and pageantry of the game we hold so dear. So get well, Lee. We look forward to seeing you back on ESPN Game Day really soon. The Sunshine Scooter, one of our all-time favorites. Well, folks, we'd love to hear your thoughts on our rankings. Do drop us some comments. Let us know who we may have missed or if we got somebody ranked where you don't see them ranked. You think somebody should be ranked higher or lower, let us know. We'd love to chat with you about it. You can follow us on Facebook at The Color and Pageantry over there. We invite you to like the video if you enjoyed the content and do subscribe to our page if you want to see more of it. But more importantly, folks, we want to thank you for watching. It's going to be another weekend. Not a lot of great games this weekend. I always like USC, UCLA. Both of them have their dark jerseys on. It's kind of a colorful spectacle there in Los Angeles. But a lot of big games, so somebody's going to get beat. I mean, we know that. And we're going to talk about that next week when it happens, and we'll see who's getting in position for the playoff. So have a good week. We'll see you next week.